Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. The Dhamma is likened to a wheel, and two features of the wheel are that it turns and it goes to a good place, and the other feature of it is that it's a wheel. The Dhamma wheel is made up of factors that bind it together. So the Eightfold Path, Sila, Samadhi, Panya. So it's really a compound factors knitted together to form a unit that act in harmony, act in unison, like the spokes of a wheel. And so all of the Buddha's teachings you always recognise as always lists, Eightfold Path, 3 characteristics, 5 Indriya, 37 Bodhipakya Dhammas, 7 enlightenment factors. Never a singular thing. It's never just this, do that. There's always bring this into fruition, this comes into fruition, that comes in, and it's built up. You build up a collection that moves in the right way. And it's harmonious. Yeah. So it's never a one-shot technique, or a one-shot instruction even. So you listen to a lot of talks, some emphasise this, some emphasise that. And it's really seeing how all these Dhamma teachings, Vinaya teachings, teachings on precepts, teachings on kindness, teachings on samadhi, how they should not be in contradiction to each other. And of course we're always putting this wheel on the ground of our lives. It's a lived out experience. It's lived out on this, in this incarnate form, not outside it. That's a wheel then that moves through the world. Moves through the world. And that's all we all recognise. Most of us come into practice in some way, this sense of discontent, alienation from the world. It's boring, it's frustrating, it's tiring, it's exhausting, it's confusing, it's not going where I want to go. It's tangling me up, it's fruitless, stressful. So naturally there's a kind of, I want to get out of this world. Quite an understandable movement. There's a sense of urgency to get out of this world. But actually, as it's commented, you don't get out of this world by travelling. And you don't get out of it just by following that instinct by itself. You move through it. And you move through it to a way that's harmonious. The Buddha lived on planet Earth harmoniously, with conditions, people, silences, absences, presences, placed his most significant monastery right next to the capital city. It's like living in Croydon. And then he said to target his delight in quiet places, and then put his main monastery right next to the capital city of the most important kingdoms. Why didn't he go up to some mountain top somewhere? It's not quite like that. Through seeing the world as it actually is, the target is released. So even in the midst of all that, it could be released. Through non-clinging, through seeing through it. So this wish to get out of the world is often got some truth in it, but it's often confused because we're not very clear in what the world is. And really what we're trying to realize, it's this inner world of our passions and confusions and pains and uncertainties. That's cleared, then the outer world doesn't really catch hold and distinguish the two. Because you can do a lot of, get off on the wrong footing if you feel you've got to, get out of the world. Because wherever you go, it's there. You come to a Chithurst Monastery, people, things to do. You can't get out, there's too much going on. Go to another place, it's too hot, it's too cold. Don't like the teacher. So we're carrying, we're still carrying the same foundations of the world. And the Buddha said this is not earth and water, it's aggregates. This is form, the experience of form, the presence of something. We favour or dislike, we get stuck in it. Including obviously bodies, but anything that occupies our attention. We get mesmerised by it, we cling to it, we fight with it, we rejoice in it. And so that clinging adherence, form threatens us, form drags us around, drags the heart around. Heart's not dragged around, form is just a form. Feeling, it's thrown around by feeling. You notice any pleasant feeling is the nature to arise, it passes. How does that feel? Painful feeling, don't want it. But that's the nature, we always have this. This is part of the world. Particularly mental feeling is the most powerful. Maybe thinking physical pain in your body is powerful. What gets us most of the time is the mental feeling based upon being irritated by people, rejoicing in this, delighting in that taste. Things going the way I like them to. Just purely upon mental inclination. Things going at my speed or in accordance with my wish. Good, pleasant feeling. Excited, happy. Praise, blame, gain and loss. These are things that blow the mind around. Perceptions, impressions, which mental feeling is based upon. Impressions of being liked or disliked. Impressions, perceptions of other people, interpretations. Cling to. Where we jump to conclusions, jump to interpretations about ourselves, about others, and then cling, stick to that, build up a story around it. And when you sit on retreat, you can just start to find your mind just weaves these perceptions of impressions of, if I was here, if I was there, if I was out there doing this, if I was doing that, it'd be really good. Yeah. If I was, all kinds of inner impressions. And when you hear, get fabulous it would be to be somewhere else. If you're a monk, it'd be great to be a lay person. If you're a lay person, it'd be great to be a monk, or a nun. No, it's not. Because a chitta is not a monk or a nun or a lay person. So what happens is the chitta is fabricating all these perceptions and impressions, and they're all fashioned from the basic material of craving. And so we don't see that. We don't see, not perception is not the problem, it's the craving and the clinging. The perception is just the perception, it's an impression. It happens. It has to happen. Got visual consciousness, you get some impression. But a wise person, maybe so. Maybe so. We'll see. Maybe so. Another one, of course, is formations, the aggregate of formations of the impulse energy. Impulse energy. Go here, go there, do this, do that. That'd be great. Again, one of the excitement. Or negativity, resist. So impulse. It drives the mind. We get bored if we don't have one. And one takes over and we get excited and swept away. Then we have an impulse to try to stop it all happening. Don't have any thoughts, don't have any impressions, don't have any movements in your mind. That's another impulse. Instead you say, this is just an impulse. And if there's no adherence to it, no fascination with it, no dejection about it, the clinging, and then just the movement. Just the movement. This is what minds do. And through that non-clinging, non-fascination, mind begins to notice something else. An unconditioned, a non-impulsive, non-movement that's settled. Consciousness, sights, sounds, touches, thoughts, pinging the mind, dumping stuff in. We resist, we duck, we fight, we shield, we favour. What happens if that doesn't occur? Like someone whose mind is like a cloud. You shoot an arrow into a cloud, it just passes through. Can it be like that? Or does sight, sound, stick, cause agitation? How much do we make out of what we see or hear? How much do we crave sights and sounds? Like to be in Portugal, like to be on a mountaintop, you like to be by the sea, like to have a hot donut in the morning. You kind of fabricate items, not just even that aren't there, alone the ones that do arise. So this is what the world you want to get out of, because these are sometimes they're not even chosen. They're just this world we're not even deciding. It's just blind reactions. Chitta's got stuck. This is what it knows, so it just keeps churning it away and creating another world where this wouldn't exist, where I'd be left alone, where it'd be quiet and peaceful and calm and serene and nobody bothered me and it'd be wonderful and fulfilled, happy, good feeling all the time. This kind of vague impression, fashioning another world. And so we get out of that. And the first step is always, the Buddha says, first step, be heedful. Just lift your attention. What's going on? Disengage, just lift your attention. That's viveka, disengage your attention. Be heedful. Notice the world. Notice it clearly. Notice where it is. Where is the world that you're really living in? Notice where it is. This is heedfulness. It means now it's placing you in some relationship where you could have some say on that slippery, vibrant, tangling, pulsing experience. You could answer that rather than just completely immersed in it. Heedfulness. Those who are not heedful are like swept away in the flood. Almost dead, like dead fish swept away in a river. They look pretty lively because the river's lively, but the fish are dead. Yeah. And when it steps out, it's notice the stream, the world. Then look at it more carefully. What's it structured out of? I remember a friend of mine, Hungarian, he said his grandfather in Hungary, which is a lot of it is fairly, it's a large plain. They grow cereals, and they have big barns where they collect all the whatever it is, wheat or barley or whatever they're growing. These enormous barns, and his grandfather said one of these barns, they cleared it. They were using it as a hall to dance in. This barn, big barn, having about 150 people in there, all kind of having some sort of party, dancing and singing and so forth. And this barn, old barn, then it caught fire. The wooden barn caught fire. And they're in panic. Get out, get out. So there's a door. Big doors of the barn, so they're rushing towards the door, stamping each other, and timber's falling down. And this guy's grandfather and his friend stopped, looked around, so everybody's rushing towards the door. Wait a minute, wooden barn. Just punch a hole in the timber, in the wall, and get out. They got out. 80 people died in the barn, burnt alive, trampled. But they looked at the structure, they just paused from that panic, looked around and said, this is just a wooden barn. Yeah, you can push that out. Right? They knew the structure. They looked at the structure rather than just the impression of conflagration. Yeah? And the idea of a door, everybody rushing towards, trampling each other, falling over. Push, we shove on that, or knock a hole. And they did, they got out. Because they paused. That's what heedfulness is. You pause. You don't have to pause for 10 minutes, you just pause, just so you catch the pause, just that. Wait a minute. What's this structured about? Where am I? You're getting into an argument. This is this, and he says that, and he says this, and so-and-so says that. Just, wait a minute. What are we in? We're in some kind of thought world, trying to find certainty in a thought. There isn't any. This is a totally mythical structure. Let's get out of this, It says in Abhidharma, in the Sutta, this is so and there's two people arguing each other about a thought. Thinking, but it's just a thought. What are we doing? Hot, tangled, conflagrations. Stop. This is structure's on fire. So in this practice, you really, that lifting of heedfulness, where are you? The world of the future is streaming away with its dreads and plans and joys and imaginations, streaming away. Look at that one. How solid is that? Whew. Yeah. Opinions about people, just running away, tangling, thickening, pressing you down. Wow, what's that? Yeah. And you don't realize that, you missed the thing that you don't see is an unconscious clinging to them. We don't notice. The fascination, the adherence, mesmerized by these forms, physical form, mental forms, adhering to them, seeking certainty in them, seeking conviction in them, fighting with them. All this is this adherence. And clinging is not necessarily about liking something. It's a blind reaction formed out of tanha, thirst. And there's these 5 aggregates are called those which are affected by clinging. Clinging hovers around them. It's like they're prone to it. Yeah. Just like food is prone to rotting away. Bodies are prone to sickness. Aggregates are prone to clinging. It hovers around, and tanha, craving, is the energy that infects, sticks, that gets clinging going. And what do we crave? What is the craving about? Craving for certainty, craving for stability, craving for continuity, craving for the future, craving to be something, craving to not be something. These are kind of expressions that are used. Craving to be something in the future, craving to not be something in the future. Projecting one's impressions, self. So I'll be certain. And it's always establishing, it always adheres to any of these 5 aggregates. It throws the citta into these 5 aggregates. Good news is it's only the aggregates that are the problem. It's only the aggregates that are affected by clinging. It's the only it's only the aggregates that get craving occurs around. So if you understand that, and you're aware of that, and you can notice, this is a form. This is one that's going to be prone to some clinging. See what happens. See the favouring, the disliking, the identifying with shape of your body, shape of somebody else's body. That's a person. No, it's not. It's a form. So this is kind of like these are like areas we can begin to recognise where clinging adheres to. So okay, well, let's get rid of all the bodies, throw everybody out, and then we no clinging. Well, still be clinging to what? To your ideas and impressions, impulses and desires, opinions and views, ideas about yourself. So it's perceptions still remain. So we say it's not form that's the problem, it's clinging. Clinging is a potential that occurs, so you want to watch it, because then you can see, this is the form and there's the clinging to it, to a different Form is just a form, and you can feel a certain, agitation, adherence. So that's it. And it's a kind of heating up, stirring. Tanha. So this is just form. Form is what? Shape. What's a shape? Something that's bound to change. What's a texture? Something that's bound to change. What's a size? What's desirable about a size or a shape? It's just a shape, isn't it? And yet the mind injects desirability into that. Clingability. Is there any shape that doesn't change? So you start to, this is a reviewing process. You analyze form, perceptions, impressions. If anybody have the same impression? Aren't they all slightly different? Changing. Impressions of other people. Impressions of the day. Impressions of being a nun or a monk. Dismal, joyful, confusing, wonderful, confident. What is it? What are you talking about? And yet we can stick on one of these, and you stick on it, and the citta then fabricates a whole world of impressions and stories and self. What I want to be, what I can never be. This doesn't work for me. I don't like this. I want to be that. And this kind of stuff just fabricating away. The clinging takes over. Impulses take over. Barn's on fire. Nobody gets out alive of that. So you want to know where these infections take over. Yeah. And that knowing, itself is not a single thing, but it's bound together. So like the wheel. So we might use the 5 indriya together. So it's not just a bit of understanding. Understanding is good, but it's not enough. You need energy to keep applying. Energy is good, but it's not enough. You need some samadhi to deepen it. That's good, but it's not enough. You need faith, sense of there's a further to keep you interested, motivated. Yeah, it's not enough by itself. You have mindfulness to make sure everything is being applied in the appropriate way. So you get these 5 indriya together. They form a team. And it's like they circle around the citta. Protect it. And it's said that these 5 indriya, which can be, once again, saddha, faith, sense that there's a possibility. That one goes down, doesn't it? Fed up, no point. Doing the same old thing. Fire's gone out, citta's gone dim. Yeah. Energy. You might think energy's always got to be full speed. No, energy just means vitality. You're vibrant, you're alive. That could be quite steady and still. It's vibrant, present. Doesn't have to be moving, but you're not damp, you're not gone stale. Mindfulness, you may think mindfulness is about focusing on a particular point. No, it's not. Its salient feature is it bears in mind. It brings to the heart and stays with what's appropriate. Whether that's, and the most important thing to stay with is the Dhamma. That's not just an idea, it means a sense of, craving has to be abandoned. Stay with that. Stay with, suffering has to be understood. Stay with that. And so mindfulness is sometimes or repeatedly defined as one bears in mind the meaning of teachings given long ago. Suffering is to be understood. Cessation is to be realized. There is a path to be cultivated. Bear that in mind. So you have that, covers it all, doesn't it? So you think, I'm fed up with sitting here watching my breath. Okay, you're tired out, so just that suffering is to be understood. Means what? Means, then your energy's not running out, your energy's so then walk, stand, reflect, practice metta. You can shift by being mindful of what's important to be mindful of, how your practice is running, how your practice is going. So you place it not just upon ground that can fall away. Sometimes, frankly speaking, you just can't do another sit. You had enough of it. Faith has run out, energy's run out. It's okay, let's do some walking, do some standing, okay, do some chanting. Okay, go and talk to someone, get some inspiration back. You can't just keep plugging away on blind willpower. There's got to be the faith has to be re-established. Energy has to be revitalized. So get up, do some exercise, take some fresh air, It's often things like this where mindfulness is supervising, bearing in mind the teachings, and wisdom is, that's not there, this is what you need. This is the way these indriya bond together. The mindfulness is checking it, just supervising it all, bearing in mind the teaching, and then the wisdom element says, that ain't working. There's where your faith has run out. Okay, where does it get re-established? Go and find your teacher. That's what establishes it. Sometimes it's just a matter of bringing your energy up. Suddenly you feel more inspired because you're really fully, you're not just going into a daydream, fuzzy state, but you feel the vigour of your own practice. So how these club together, how they work together. And it's standing, so you always that. Just like these creatures that protect themselves from carnivore. You get like you ever seen videos of oxen, like musk oxen in Canada, and the wolves are out looking for animals to eat. So these musk ox travel in a pack, and the wolves try and break up the pack, panic, get the pack to panic. So one scatters away, all the wolves jump on the one that's left behind, the weak one or the young one, the infant or the sick one. They rip it apart and they get their meal. But the wise ox, they form a circle, and the adults, the strong ones, stand in the circle. We've got their big heavy horns standing in a circle with their horns and their front facing out. They circle around with the more vulnerable ones inside. Then the wolves can't get in because they're meeting these massive, strong horns. They defend. And the wolves try and get one to panic. Jump at one and try and tease it to get out. So it cause the pack to break up. And then they break it up, and then they select one that's the weakest and devour it. But if they stay in that ring, however many attacks the wolves make, they can't get in. Of course, it's incredibly frightening, I'd imagine. But you've got to face that and stay intact. So these 5 indriya, when they club together and stay intact, then the demons, the defilements, can't get in. But if one runs out, if your faith runs out, there's a big gap and wolves get in and grab your chitta. Because you've got your faith goes down, you think, I can't be bothered, that's the point of this. Whoa, wolves get in there, start chewing you up. Or your mindfulness goes. You don't bear the teachings in mind. It starts drifting off into, this, that, or the other. Mindfulness goes, and the wolves get in. When wisdom goes, it doesn't discern what needs to be discerned. You're getting caught up in defining this or noticing that. But what you really need to discern is where there's craving, where there's a loss of mindfulness, where the indriyas are breaking down. That's what you need to discern first of all, so you keep the pack intact. And it said, when these five indriya are held together, they unify in the deathless. This is where they merge into a unity. This is a powerful teaching. It's a very succinct teaching, isn't it? Of course, it's mysterious, like, what the? 5 indriyas merge in the deathless? What's an indriya? What's a deathless? How do you do that? These are kind of cryptic, extremely condensed tips, whispered, offered to disciples, like, you unpick it. This is the nugget. Okay, work on it. What's an indriya? Indriya is like a warrior, a powerful, ally. So, where's it? I don't see any indriyas around here. All I see is forms and shapes and so on. No, I don't see any indriyas here. Oh, well, look in the right place, These ones, because this isn't defined in terms of physical environment or a particular place or occasion. It's in the heart. Get to know this realm, where your faith is, where your sense of, yes, I can. There's something better for me. There's a possibility. There's an awakening. There's something I can move towards. Where's that? It's not there. Nothing. Well, you need to use some wisdom and reflect a little bit, on the teachers and the teachings and the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha. There is a way, and what gives rise to that kindling. These are beings who are happy, peaceful, contented. The people would see these great disciples and say, it's amazing, their faces are serene, their features are radiant, and they're living on straw, just lying on the ground on straw, living on alms food. Wow. Remember that. And you've got the king, and all his harem, and his jewels, and his food, and his warriors. He's always worried, anxious, frightened, bad-tempered, mind uneven. Look at that. Get a load of that. The same thing's happening today, isn't it? You see the kind of pompous, bombastic leaders of political parties spouting, and people empty of real depth and purity, impure, lying, deceiving, blustering, steeped in impurities. Look at that. You don't want to be that. The glamour and the glitz, celebrities, look so glamorous, and you realise that she's had a nervous breakdown, he's addicted, he's just come from heroin addiction, he's got to have substance abuse, she can't inform a stable relationship, third partner in a row, look at that, no stability, no substance. And then you meet well-practiced people, they don't waver, they're not addicted, they don't tell lies, they're not cheap. Where's that? So, what do you want to be? So, you see looking around, and where your faith has arisen. Okay, you want to be like that? Put some work into it, some effort into it, energy. And important to realise this it's not frantic energy. If you notice the way energy is, there's the energy that rises up, energy that releases, and there's a kind of pause. So why we're encouraged to meditate on breathing. Gives you a very nice example, very palpable, tangible example of 3 phases of energy. And you get that, and you can discern it, you notice it's the way energy is, the way it has to be. The energy that arouses, so we're inspired, we're rising up, we're doing something, we all recognise that. Get out of bed, go to work, pick up yourself up, it's the energy that rises. And then energy that releases, you sit down, take a breather. Oh, relax, there's that. And then if you recognise, very important, there's a pause. You notice with breathing, you're breathing out, and then the muscles in the body that do the breathing relax, and you can feel the end after the muscles relax. You stay with it, stay mindful, you feel something just opens into a steady state. It's not dead, it's not nothing. Energy is just gathering. Vitality is not dead, it's not cold, it's not flat. Energy has just gone into steady state vitality for a few seconds, and then it picks up again. End of the inhalation, energy complete. Breath, breathing stops. Energy continues to shift and shimmer and goes into an open state, a few seconds or two, and then return. You focus on those points, on those pause points, they will regulate your breathing. Those are important ones to recognise. So with energy you tend to either get interested in the rising, or interested in the relaxing, but the most important point is the pausing, because that regulates. If you put more attention into those, your breathing begins to level out, become steadied. And why that's significant is because the breathing energy very much stimulates or supports corresponding emotional energy, right? Either we're enthusiastic, or we're relaxing, or we're excited, or we're resting. Or it's also negative energy. Get passionate, despair, fed up, overexcited. Got so much to do, so much to do, so much to do. Understimulated, can't be bothered, fed up, useless. These are very discernible energies. If you stay in the pause, when you get into the end of these states, gradually that will steady your energy. And you come into something that's not excited and not bored. It's just steady. That's the most important. And that's what the untrained mind doesn't know. The world in general is caught up with excitement and then taking a break. Getting excited and then switching off. Boom, bust. Boom, boom, boom. That's the world. That's because around those forms you can cling. Clinging arises, we enjoy or we get activated, but around pause there's no action, there's nothing to cling to. It's not good or bad, it's just there's nothing to cling to. That's the most important bit. This is the way out, if you like, in a nutshell. Of course, it's not, we've got to stay with that pot in our breath, but to recognize this feature. And it's the same with your thinking mind, will do the same. If you listen carefully, attend, the thought jumps a little, and then notice that. Of course, these pause points get overruled by the impetus. So this is why it's important to cultivate, and breathing is giving you a hint. You can discern that. So mindfulness of that. Take it all in. Notice the pause points, particularly in monastic life. We encourage those pauses. When you stand and wait, time to go, and then boom, wait for the bell. Or waiting, we could fidget around, we could have a conversation, we could think about tomorrow, we could just stop. Feel you. Relax. Open. Now you may crave the idea of that, but that experience itself doesn't go anywhere, doesn't make anything, it doesn't reject it, it doesn't judge anything, it doesn't barge anything out of the way or contend with anything. Isn't that like a keyhole that you can touch into? Oh. Now what if we gather around that, make that important, that aspect of our experience? The rising from it into action, and the resting, moving away into that again. There's a constant, like a punctuation that moderates everything. Believe in something, argue with it, or just see the same thing, that heedfulness where you disengage from the momentum. And you realize when you disengage from the momentum, it's not like nothing. There's a quality of presence, awareness, aliveness. But it's not in this aggregate mix. It's not going anywhere. It's peaceful. And you take a new cue from that. You know what it's like to have a citta that's not fabricating, or disturbed, or wanting, or resisting, or... there's that. It can happen. There's that. Your faith lifts up, because actually that's not... it's not that... It's not that obscure, it's just the point that we rush over. Just like the people who rushed out of the barn, or tried to rush out of the barn. Just like the ox that got panicked and broke their formation. Got stirred and rushed out, and just stay your ground. And the ground is quite steady because it's not established on a particular form, or a feeling, or an idea, or an impetus of any kind. So then it can't fall away, can it? If our faith is based upon a person, what happens when the person passes away? Faith is based upon a technique. What happens when the technique doesn't work? As they don't. Any system is a convention, it doesn't always work. What happens when the mind doesn't settle down? It's saying just keep banging away at a mantra or something, or a Buddho, banging away at it, getting more upset, uptight, trying to bang the mind down into submission. How long do you want to do that for? Enough banging, crashing, pushing, or running away. Just this is the mind. The conditions are this way. The back door of the barn that we didn't notice. Because you always thought the way out is to run out the door. No. Penetrate the structure. How it moves you, binds around you, urges, the aggregates, binding, urging, compelling, fearful. This is where you have to be like one of those oxen. You stand your ground. Stand your ground. Yes, it's scary. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, there's uncertainty. Stand your ground. And get these. Don't keep even looking at the wolves. Just check out where's the sati. Is the energy there? It's not a lot to bear in mind, is it? The energy, understanding, am I settling? Bear in mind, craving is to be relinquished, suffering is to be understood. Okay. Get steady again. That's your ground. The rest of it depends on what's available, what's possible, where you can place yourself for that. When you're working or meditating or going, whatever you're doing, you're always circled round by these 5 aggregates, are always there. We're affected by clinging, craving. So, it's important to know where the way out is, that you don't have to run to with passion. Way out that's cooling, clarifying, easeful, leads to the dispassion, leads to radiance of the heart, rather than some adherence, clinging to a dogma, or a notion, or an idea, or a view. Once we begin to recognize this is the path, this is the way, where these 5 indriya collect together, peaceful, secure, not lost in time or place. If we recollect these, contemplate them individually, know how they feel, the experience of them, how they come together, then you're building up allies that will gather round the heart, steady it, lead it in that way of the wheel towards liberation. Anyone?
Sa